How's it going, everyone? Hope you're doing well. My name's MJ, and I got a really great video, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and show you the cards that I'm grading this month. I got about 25 cards that I'm grading, but not only are we going to be looking at the cards I'm going to be grading and why, I want to tell you guys why as well, because we all like Pokemon cards here, right? But also, we want to check out the PSA 10 data because these are a lot of great cards in my collection that I've been sourcing and that I think can go ahead and bring me back a good profit margin and return. It's going to suck to let them go, you guys. But I mean, I have so much in my collection. And so let's go ahead and start out this video. Technically, it is my birthday week on March 27th, so this video is coming out next week. But we're going to start off with the Charizard VMAX right here. I recently picked this up at a card show where I was a first-time vendor, and so I was able to get a sweet deal for the Charizard VMAX. I think I traded somebody for 80% market value, and I went ahead and for 3 prismatic 3-pack blisters, the Leafeon, Sylveon, and some other blister, and yeah, it was a great deal. Each blister was about $38. I think I got them for like $19.99. And so I got the Charizard VMAX, and I forget what other card I got. Currently, the PSA 10 is selling for $221. The raw card on TCG Player is selling for $120. Now, I know $220 isn't a big price for a PSA 10 nowadays. I mean, you have the Bubble Mew at around, what, 600 plus. You have the Greninja EX at around $700, $800. And then you have the Magikarp still at around $900 to $1,000. And mainly it's because of this population. You have 25,000 PSA 10s versus 5,641 PSA 9s. So that's mainly the reason why we don't have such a crazy price for this Charizard VMAX. I've always wanted it in my collection, so if I could get the PSA 10, maybe I'll sell it at another card show, or maybe I'll just keep it in the PC. We'll have to see. I've always wanted that card, and maybe after having it for like 6 months, you know, sometimes you're like ready to move on from a card. Next, we have the Iron Crown EX card. Remember what happened with this card? It was kind of nuts how that card ended up being, what was it? It ended up being like a crazy $150 card post-release. But that was because of buyouts, right? People were just buying the card and then relisting it. Currently, the raw price for the card is only around $64. And it looks like it hasn't seen any jumps in the past 3 to 4 months, which is actually interesting because most cards have jumped and now entered price corrections, and some cards are still going up. The PSA 10, though, is selling for about $192. And in January, it was spiking from $160 up to $217. And now the PSA 10 is trending in the downward direction, losing about $18 in value for the PSA 10 in the last 2 to 3 months. So that's the Iron Crown that we have. And so, really awesome card. I would be willing to sell it, though, for sure, in a PSA 10. It is beautiful, and I still have 3 Temporal Forces booster boxes anyways. And so now going to booster boxes, you guys, honestly, Temporal Forces, I know it's at a really nice price point at around $175. But personally, once that gets to $200 plus, I wouldn't mind selling it. I really wouldn't. And I'll tell you guys why in a moment. Let's talk about this Houndoom. Currently, the Houndoom, wow, look at this jump. In January, it went from $115, was skyrocketing to $266. So that's about a $150 jump from January. Then since February 13th, it started trending in the downward direction. Maybe it broke up with its girlfriend, who knows? Just playing. But yeah, it went from 266 down to 215 in March, 218, and now it's spiking back up to $247. So about a $40 gain, $20 gain. Yeah, just about a $20 to almost $30 gain in about 2 weeks. So it's trending in the upward direction. The raw card is about $41 right now. and it's been trending in the downward direction as well since February, from $52 down to $41.39. So really awesome card. I know that it's popular, and went through a big price jump, right? The PSA 10 to $200+, and now it's still a $200 PSA 10. And I think for the most part, I haven't been showing you guys too much, but these cards are pretty well centered. I took out a few cards, like 4 cards, that I was like, you know what? I don't want to test my luck that much. Submitting cards is expensive. It's like $18.99 for each card. And so some of the cards that I knew were off centered just a slight bit, I just took them out completely. So hopefully my gem rate is around 50 to 60%. I know most people's gem rates have dropped down to like, people are saying down to like 35%. So hopefully I'm being really strict about my criteria, the centering and the edges and corners and everything. Centering now has to be 55-45. And going back to Temporal Forces, I think it's a really cool, interesting set. I have 3 booster boxes for Temporal Forces, but I just feel like with all these sets coming out, Journey Together and Destined Rivals, I think Surging Sparks, Journey Together, and Destined Rivals might be the most expensive sets we're going to see in this era. And so I wouldn't mind getting my money back on those Temporal Forces that I got for about $115 and invest in some Destined Rivals, because we know that's going to be really expensive. The Roaring Moon Raw card is still only a $60 card. It's been $60 ever since the beginning of February. In January, it managed to drop down from $60 down to about $45. And now it's a $60 card again. I remember when this card dropped down to $45, I was like, that's crazy, low-key. I was like, that's low-key not... Like, that's too cheap for the Roaring Moon. I mean, it's a super sick Pokemon. I remember I was getting copies of this for $80. And so the PSA 10 is $264 right now. It had a high of $277 in February, on February 18th. And it started seeing a big run in around January from $185 to $273 in February, $280, and then now it's $264 in a PSA 10. And if you look 6 months ago, the PSA 10 was only $137 6 months ago. So it just goes to show the big price jumps that we do end up getting for cards, especially during Pokemon booms like the one that we're in right now. We had the alternate art boom, and speaking of alternate art boom, we have this Lugia. It's my 3rd Lugia that I've had. This one hopefully gets to PSA 10. This will be my first time submitting a PSA submission without anybody's help, without GameStop, without going through like a friend that I know, someone that's graded before. This will be the first time. The bottom right here, I just realized this bottom. Do you guys see that? Oh, man, it's thin, you guys. It might get the 9. The left and right centering is so good, though. In the back of this, I just got this at a card show, too. I got it for about $260. Market price is $300. We did a trade. Or no, we did a sell. I bought this card from the guy for 80% market price. And, man, but that bottom, I just didn't look at that bottom. I don't know if I want to test my luck on it. We'll have to see, you guys. We'll have to see. But let's look at that PSA 10. Man, I really thought I was going to get that PSA 10. It is a bummer. It is a bummer, low-key. Let's look at that Lugia, because I really wanted that PSA 10, you guys. $646 in a PSA 10. You have 15,000 copies in a PSA 10. You have 8,658 in a PSA 9. So you have a lot of PSA 10s. And, this card started going up in December from $479, in January to $683. And ever since January, it's actually been trending in the downward direction, down to $646. So about a $40 to $50 drop since January. And then in December, it was still a $400 PSA 10. And in November, it was a $395 PSA 10. So it's been slowly growing. And, ever since Sword and Shield kind of was finalized and done and no more print runs. Um, we got the alternate art boom. The alternate art saw a price correction last year, I think around spring, summer months. And then now we're kind of in another alternate art boom with a few price corrections, as you can see. The raw card is $295 right now on TCG Player. It was $300 just the other day in early March. And if we look in January, December, it was a $230 card. And now it's a $296 card. So still, what is that? A $60 gain in the past 3 months. That's pretty good. That's honestly really good. Next, we're going to check out the Galarian Moltres. And this Galarian Moltres, honestly, really beautiful card. I didn't even know it was one of the chase cards when Chilling Reign came out. I remember I just bought some loose packs on Mercari, and I got really lucky. I even messaged the person asking, like, hey, can I get a refund? I hear people weigh packs, and the girl was like, I don't weigh my packs. I think that's, she said, like, appalling or disgusting. Like, I would never do that. And she was like, look at my reviews. And I was like, okay, fine. I won't ask. Don't give me a refund. It's fine. Like, I trust it then. I trust you. And I ended up pulling the Galarian Moltres. So I'm really happy that I did. It's the biggest chase card I've ever pulled. And it's been about 40 years that I've had this card. So I'm excited to finally grade it with my PSA membership. So let's go ahead and let's check out the Galarian Moltres prices. PSA 10s are selling for $389. There's a population of 4,915. If we look in March, right here, it has a market price of $389. And it's actually been trending in the downward direction since February 19th. And on February 19th, it saw a yearly high of $431. And I believe this is the all-time high for this card. $431 in February. Now it's down to $389. So about a $40 drop since February. If we look in early January, this card was selling for $299. Then it was trending in the upward direction, selling for $350 in January. Then in February, it was selling for $400 plus. And now it's trending in the downward direction, but still selling in the high 380s. If we look at the raw card, let's look at TCG Player only. The raw card right now is... Whoa, I didn't mean to get all those grades. My bad, guys. There we go. The raw, let's just look at the raw or TCG Player. It's still showing me all these cards. So on TCG Player, we see $197. And in January, it was selling for $155. So this card has been on its way up for a really long time. Really long time. And what I mean by that is that I remember when this card finally got to like $130 like a year ago, and now it's $195 raw. Next, we have this Rayquaza VMAX from Silver Tempest. And honestly, I did not expect this Rayquaza VMAX to get expensive, especially in a PSA 10. I remember I got a PSA 10 for like $100. I traded it away for like, I don't know, maybe 80% market value. This was before I started getting interested in maybe becoming a vendor, because I was trading cards at 80% market price. And I was like, man, that's tough. Like you have these cards, and this was before like this was like maybe last summer, and into the fall and winter. And then we've been in a Pokemon market, bull market, for I think like what, 6 months, you guys? 6-7 months, right? It's been slowly brewing, and now it's like crazy all-time highs. I've been selling booster boxes too on Facebook Marketplace, like Paradox Rift for like $175. I sold Paradox Rift for $150 a few months ago. I sold Stellar Crown for $150 a few months ago. Obsidian Flames I sold for $150 a few months ago. And so, I bought a lot of this product when it was sitting, online on online stores for like $85 and whatnot. But yeah, long story short, I traded away that Rayquaza VMAX at 80% market price way too soon. And so let's go ahead and check out the PSA 10 numbers for this card. PSA 10s are selling for $197 right now in March. In February, it was selling for $226 in January and February. And then look at back here. This is when I traded away the card in December. It was a $94 PSA 10. And then in January, started going into the 100s. And then towards the end of January, it went from $100 on January 6th, and then now to 200, or sorry, from early January, $106 to the end of January, $223. So it's all a $123 gain in 1 month. Absolutely crazy, you guys. Hit the 200s in February, and now it's down to 197. So not too bad of a price correction. The raw card is now selling for $76. All right, next we're going to be looking at the Mewtwo GX. The Mewtwo GX, and this one's the one from Shining Legends, and I'm surprised that it is this cheap of a card. Here it is. Here's the texture. Awesome, amazing texture. Honestly, I'm surprised this card has not seen a crazy boom. I know rainbow cards aren't the most popular cards, but I still feel like it's undervalued, you guys. I mean, it's so old at this point to find a near mint copy. And so I digress. I think maybe during Destined Rivals, maybe with the new Mewtwo cards, we're most likely going to see some pumps on a few Mewtwo cards. And that was kind of my reasoning behind getting this card on eBay. Because when you're on eBay, it's easier to source cards because you can see pictures. So it's a really great place to find cards, even Facebook Marketplace. Right now, the market price for the PSA 10 is $196. Again, I still feel like that's not too expensive. And the raw card is only $52. So I think I got it for about $40, $45 after taxes. So the raw card's about $52. And yeah, as you can see, it hasn't seen much of a change, you guys. From October, it was $50. Now it's still $52, and I know it's not the most popular like artwork or anything. I think technically it's a 3D imaging, right, by 5-band graphics, so it's not like an Illustrator card or anything, or by an Illustrator. But yeah, I still think it's an awesome card, and the gem. Look at the gem 10s. There's only 986, and there's 1,200 PSA 9s. This one looks really clean, so I'm hoping to get that $196 card. And maybe by the time Destined Rivals comes out and I get this card graded, maybe it'll be like a $350 PSA 10. Only time will tell. But it's really clean, and I think it's a super sick card, and I'm glad to have it in my collection right now. Next, we have another similar card. Not as cool, I think, but it costs about the same. It's the Mewtwo GX Shiny Mewtwo card. Honestly, these modern cards right now, they're going to be hard to let go because I've had some of these cards only for maybe 4 months. And gosh, you guys, honestly, it's just nice to have new cards. I know sometimes you have a collection and then you move on from cards, but it's going to be hard to move on from some of these cards. But the point is to make some marginal gains on these cards, and that's why I'm grading them, and that's why I'm taking the chance on grading them, because it really is taking a risk, right? But if I use a magnifying glass, a really big one, it's like for reading, it's a square with, it has different levels of lights. I use that. I was using that at the card show when I was vending for the first time. I did pretty good. I think I made, with Zelle, Venmo, and cash, I think we made like a little over $2,000 with maybe an initial investments of probably like $400 to $500. So I think we did really, really well. I sold Evolving Skies sleeved booster packs, Fusion Strike sleeve booster packs that I got for like $4. Evolving Skies I got for like $12 sleeve booster packs. I sold the Evolving Skies for $30 a sleeve booster, and the Fusion Strike for $15. I sold a lot of Twilight Masquerade sleeve booster packs for $6, and I got them I got like 88 of them through a trade. And then I sold a decent amount of 3-pack blisters, some figurines. It was a whole lot of fun, guys, and I'm really sorry on my channel I don't have videos of making deals or anything like that. I made so many deals. My girlfriend was helping me. She was such a blessing, and being there all day for 2 days at March Mania. So thank you, Laura, for your help. But yeah, you guys, it was so much fun. But let's talk about this Kingdra right here. And I'm doing another card show vending event, a 2-day event in the summer. It's called Summer Slam. That place that I go to do the card vending, They do card shows every month, like twice a month. But I like doing the bigger events that are 2-day events because there's just so much more foot traffic. People are traveling from different places out here in Cali. But anyways, let's talk about this Kingdra right here. It's $133 PSA 10. The raw card is $23. It's funny, I was trying to sell them for $30. And but it'll eventually get there, I feel. At one point it was close to $30 back in January. And the PSA 10 saw an all-time high. And I only know this is an all-time high, I believe, because it's a newer card. And so post-release, it was $170. Now it's $167. So I guess technically it's not all-time high anymore. But it's so close to the all-time high. Anyways, that was post-release when everyone assumed these cards were going to get really cheap. And at some point, they did get cheap. PSA 10s in December were $60, and the card was only $8. So the margins were really great. In January, it started picking up from $70 to $70 in January to February, $167. So damn near $100 gain in 1 month. And since February 5th, it's actually been trending in the downward direction from $168 down to $133. So about a $30 loss in the past month. And the card itself hasn't really changed too much. It's only lost value from $30 in January. That was a good all-time high for the card, down to $23. So it's lost about $7 since January for the raw single. And next, we're going to go ahead. We saw the Kingdra. Oh, yes. Next, it's going to be this right here. The Zoroark. Let's check out the Zoroark, guys. Sorry, my bad. I didn't even show you the Kingdra. Here it is. I went a little out of order. But I got like 6 of these. I'm going to grade, I think. Some of them I'm just keeping on the side to sell. I opened a lot of Shrouded Fable. The GameStop had, what was it? It was buy 2 get 1 free a few months ago. Well, it was longer than a few months ago, but next we have this N Zoroark card. So another video should be coming out this week about Battle Partners and Heatwave Arena. And my channel is mainly an investing channel, and I'm going to say this real quick because I'm saving it for another video that I'm recording this weekend, and then it'll come out next week. And this is it. This is what I'm going to say. Battle Partners booster boxes have gone another reprint that's going to be coming out. Battle Partners booster boxes were $100 for a while, and then now they're down in the 70s. So we could see Battle Partners booster boxes, the Japanese set, get down to the 50s and 60s, you guys. And I think, you know, if you're looking to invest, and Journey Together is really expensive, these cards, this is about an $80 card, but post-release, this was about a $150 card for the raw card, and the PSA 10 gem rate is like almost 90%. So if you get this card, it's $88 right now, and you go to GameStop and it looks good like this one. It's well centered. Japanese print quality is really good. The only thing you have to worry about is the centering. And you go to GameStop and you grade for $15, you could see a pretty good price margin. The PSA 10s were selling for about $250. Then they went down to $220. Then they went down to $170 in the PSA 10. They got as low as $145, you guys. And now they're starting to go back up. I think with the hype of Journey Together, people are starting to buy these Japanese cards. And so now the PSA 10s are going back up to the 170s. But like I said, guys, everyone, this used to be a 170, 150 raw card. So I just think there's lots of opportunities right now in the English market, but especially the Japanese market. You just have to be monitoring the prices for Japanese. They're volatile. It's kind of interesting because remember how English, if you've been in the hobby, Pokemon collecting, Pokemon investing hobby, remember how the past 3 years sets would come out and cards would be expensive, and then they would like trend in the downward direction post-release? And then in Scarlet and Violet, it was the same thing. And then we started getting all these other sets like Surging Sparks and Twilight Masquerade. And some cards started doing the opposite, like the Groudon, the Eevee card, the Greninja card. And then the Japanese counterparts, Japanese Greninja, started going up. The Bubble Mew Japanese from Shiny Treasures EX started going up. And so some of these cards actually start to see basically they start to go up in value and go up in price for several months after the English release, because if people can't get the Japanese card, maybe they'll end up getting the I'm sorry, if people can't get the English card, then they're going to start going after the Japanese card, because there's still a lot of collectors in this market that want to collect the card, and they don't care if it's Japanese or not. And some people really like Japanese, and some people don't like Japanese at all. So I do think if you're looking to invest, that you should look more at these Japanese cards. And again, I'm gonna make a whole separate video, and we're gonna do a deeper dive and look at the prices and look at the price history of these cards, Japanese cards from Heatwave Arena and Battle Partners. So that'll be coming out next week too, when this video goes live. And here's what I'm talking about. Post release, this PSA 10 in February. If we look at the all-time data, that'll give us a good idea. Come on. Yeah, so, this set came out in January. This card was selling for about 170 post-release, right? Went down to 150 by February. And then in March, at the end of February, managed to get down to $100 raw. And now in March, it's currently $83 raw card. And like I said, you guys, Journey Together is coming out. People are going to want this End Zoroark. Honestly, I think it's slept on. The Lily's Clefable or Clefairy is cool. The Iono's Belly Bolt is not bad, but I think people are sleeping on this End Zoroark. And not to mention, N is on the Pokemon Center ETB and the regular ETBs. So I think this card is on its way to boom soon. And I think it's going to shock a lot of people. And then if you look at the PSA 10, the raw card is about $81 right now, guys. And the PSA 10 went down. It takes a few months to get our the data from PSA and the cards to get submitted, and people pay extra money to have it be express, right? And so in February, this card started out as a PSA 10 for $250, went down to $230 in March. So literally like weeks later, it dropped $20, and then in March 10th, it dropped to 173 from 236 to 173. So that's a $60 drop. And then now went from 173 down to 142. So about a $90 drop in a matter of like less than a month. $90 drop. PSA 10s are $142. However, I will say I've been looking, and it's hard to find the cheaper PSA 10s at $140. I think people are starting to realize that that's just too cheap for a card in a PSA 10. Oh, and one more thing. Look at the PSA 10 ratio. 726 10s to 33 9s. And again, Japanese print quality is really good, but I think these cards are going to get bought up soon. Here is another card that I actually already made a play on towards the end of last year. This card was about $50 in November. Went in January to $51. Nothing too crazy. February, $58. Now it's slowly trending in the upward direction to $64. And that is the Milotic card. And we'll check out the card that I'm grading in just a second. I think I'm grading one of them out of the 5 that I got, but I got 5 for $45. PSA 10s are about $107. At one point in February, they were $113, and in January, $110. So a little volatile for the Milotic EX. And look at the gem rate, really good, 2,478, 226 for the PSA 9. So hopefully I can get that 10 and sell this card for $106, and I'll make about $30 to $40, including the PSA grading fee. And so now let's go ahead and check out that card that I got, the Milotic right here. Really great deal. It was $45 at the time through my Japanese wholesaler, and this one is a clean copy that I'm going to be selling. And so, or I'm going to be grading. I already sold a few. And a lot of times, when I was at the card show, people were like, yeah, Japanese quality is amazing. Like, they look better. Like, I got a lot of those comments. But dude, you guys, this card, I don't know if it's just me. I'm glazing this Ends Zoroark though. It's just, to me, it's one of the coolest cards I've ever seen. And that's kind of nuts. But there's a lot of great cards that people like. But like this Milotic. But yeah, my Japanese wholesaler guy, he's really cool. Really nice guy. You know, and I get it. He can't always be sending me the cards that are for sure going to get a PSA 10. I got a bunch of these EVs too for like $15. Now they're like $27 PSA. I mean, I'm in a raw single. And so I really got a good price on these. It was like 3 or 4 months ago though. So it's been a while. I think during Christmas I got these. But I even took one of these out because I was like, I don't want a PSA 9. Like I don't even want to deal with, you know, it's already going to be an expensive submission as is. So I don't need to be getting, you know, I don't need to be getting wrecked and ratioed in a bad way through PSA. The PSA 10s are selling for $70. Raw cards are $28. Back in December, November, it was a $14 card. January, it started shooting up from $14 in December to January, a $25 card. So about a $10 gain, and it's still trending in the upward direction now to $28. If we look at the PSA 10, can you believe in December it was a $44 PSA 10, and then in January it became a $75 or $65 PSA 10, and then in February a $76, and now it's down to $71. But that's a pretty big jump from December, literally 3 months ago, from $44 to now $69, $70. So about a $50 gain, not too bad. Hopefully I get that PSA 10. That would be amazing. I'd be really happy. Next, here's a card that I made a pretty good play on, and it is the Articuno. The Articuno right here. We're going to be getting this in Journey Together real soon. I got so many copies of this Articuno for about $9 to about $11 on average. And some of them look a little better than others. As you can see, you know, Japanese quality is pretty good. Sometimes I get a little nervous just because I see this left to right, you know, and it's slightly off. But when you look at the Japanese PSA 10s, these normally still get a 10. And so, you know, even with the higher standard that we now have with PSA of the centering now having to be 55/45, this card jumped from February from $48 in a PSA 10 to March $136. And now it's trending in the downward direction from $136 down to $75. So it's still up from February from $46 to $75 now in March. So that's still about, what, a $30 gain. But still tough to see that it got up to 136 and then just fell off. People probably expected Journey Together to come out and maybe they'll have an opportunity to get this card, and who knows how much this card will be from Journey Together. We'll have to find out. You know, preliminary cards on the market right now are from pre-release, and so they're really expensive because they're really scarce right now. And the set doesn't release till this upcoming Friday. And my birthday is Thursday, you guys. I'm turning 30. So thank you for watching this video. And I'm recording it the Friday, what is that, the 22nd today? 21st? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we started with the Charizard VMAX, the Iron Crown, the Shroud, the Houndoom, the Roaring Moon, the Lugia, the Galarian Moltres, Rayquaza, 2 Mewtwo's, the Kingdra, got a bunch of those Kingdras though, and Zoroark, Milotic, the Eevee, and then but yeah, you guys, I did want to show you, I do have 2 copies of the Zoroark already, you guys. I'm honestly such a huge fan of this card. I'll probably hold these 2 for a while, and I'll definitely always be keeping one, and because I just love this card so much. So that's all for this video, you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.